This is the point where we have to be very careful, because apparently it's the point where the Russians can see us and we're literally in open field.
Продовжується посадка на пасажирський поїзд Покровськ, Дніпро.
Так як сьогодні ночі було, то дуже небезпечно.
I'm happy I left. It was a nightmare.
I feel sorry to leave my home.
Ukraine was and always will be, while Russia will perish.
Pokrovsk is a key city for Russia's strategy to capture Donbas. Local authorities recently announced that residents have less than 2 weeks to evacuate. And the clock is ticking. The Russians are slowly closing in. They're only 10 kilometers from the city. The sinister rumbling of artillery is getting louder by the day. We are meeting Sebastian Plocharski, a journalist and volunteer from Poland who evacuates people from the front line. Today, we're going to Zoriane, a small settlement roughly 6 kilometers from the Russians.
Zoriane is very heavy shelling and special FPV drones. Okay. So 2 days ago, when the official evacuation team was hit in Ukraine, it's even far away from Zoriane. So Zoriane is the next village after the Krasnohorivka. So it's pretty spotted by the Russian.
Right now we're in Pokrovsk. We're gonna head to Zoriane and take the family and then bring them to a shelter with Sebastian. Let's go.
The 1 hour drive is tense. The windows are down to hear Russian FPV drones if they come at us. The rules are clear. Drive fast, but not too close to each other, to avoid being easily targeted. My hands are sweaty, and it's not due to the heat. Sebastian warned us.
This is the point where we have to be very careful, because apparently it's the point where Russians can see us and we're literally in open field.
Artillery sounds are getting dangerously close when we arrive to meet Sasha, Anya, and their puppy, Bodzia. They have everything packed already, and it only takes a few seconds to put their belongings in the trunk. Their life is in this trunk. This is all they'll keep from a lifetime in this place.
Все, бутичка, помните.
Сколько здесь жили?
18 years.
18 лет?
Sebastian tries to convince their neighbor to leave. He decides to stay behind, despite the danger. We're heading back to Pokrovsk as fast as we can. We see evacuation trucks going the same way. Sebastian offers to help, but they tell us to go. Staying here is too risky. A burned car on the roadside testifies to the danger here. Back in Pokrovsk, the family can finally breathe.
I'm happy I left. It was a nightmare. The main thing is that our son already left and we don't have to worry about him.
In this kind of job of evacuation, there is all the time will be the people who will be refused to be evacuated. So, of course, I am feeling a bit like sad, because I know them. Maybe, I don't want to use this mathematics, but 50% of these people is probably will die, if we will be the stay. Yeah. So I am even not guilty. I'm just sad of this,
Okay, so we just arrived in Pokrovsk in relative safety, compared to Zoriane. The family, that's the first stop for the family, then they're going to Drushkivka, which is not far from, also in Donetsk, actually not far from the front line. And so probably have a shelter there, probably have family there. Still they're going to live near the front line. This is our last stop, but this is for them the first stop of a long travel to a relative safety.
For us, it's time to meet soldiers to assess the situation on the ground. The 14th Brigade, Chervona Kalyna, is deployed here to halt Russia's advance. Around Pokrovsk, the Russians use the same meat-grinder tactics they used in Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and now Chasiv Yar and Toretsk. All are razed to the ground. The nearby town of Novohrodivka recently fell, and the Russians are trying to push on Selidove using their usual scorched earth tactic and pincher strategy to conquer ruins. There are over 50 assaults every day. in this direction. Marek, 23, is a machine gunner. For him, the Donbas front is a whole different level compared to Zaporizhzhia Oblast, where he was previously deployed. Every day, he fights not only the enemy, but also his own fear.
Look, I'll tell you honestly, fear is present in everyone. A person must feel fear. This is our instinct. You can't deny it. There should be fear. Fear stops a person from doing reckless things. It makes you think before doing something. Only a fool can say he has no fear when he goes to war. No matter how difficult the situation may be, you can get through it anyway.
War has changed Marek. He admits to having a hard time talking to people who have not gone through hell and back.
It is very difficult when you fight here. People shed their blood here, they rot, they die. Some get maimed, some lose friends. Well, I mean, I'm uncomfortable and not interested in talking to these people after they have shown their true colors.
Yet here, he can count on the support of his brothers in arms, including Kuba. Like Marek, Kuba can't see himself returning to civilian life yet.
I can't come back there. Look at Marek and Sashko. He's 23 years old. I'm more than twice his age. I want him to live, to have a family, children, to go out, to have a grandson, to see his grandchildren. Ukraine was and always will be, while Russia will perish, will resist. But for how long? The most important thing is not to become like the Russians.
The boys have to get ready for their next mission. For us, it's time to leave the base and get back to Pokrovsk. That night, the city is hit by a series of glide bombs. Out of the window, we film a large explosion near our flat. It's too close for comfort. The next morning, people are queuing to send their belongings by the post and evacuate. Valentina is one of them. It's obviously very painful for her to leave.
Діти забирають. Я не хочу, вони з нас не хочуть виїжджати. Тому забираємо сумки і їдемо.
Небезпечно стає?
Небезпечно. Так як сьогодні ночі було, то дуже небезпечно. Ну, ви знаєте, оце небажання виїжджати звідси перекриває всяку небезпеку.
Нам дуже шкода.
Я реально розумію, я їду в один кінець ні з чим. От просто ні з чим. 2 коробочки хлама. І то тягнеш за собою.
Even though most people live by themselves, local authorities have set up evacuation centers all around the city, where everybody can register. The atmosphere here is calm, but people are visibly anxious.
Well, of course, people are anxious and scared. There are shellings every day, and at night, it adds up to their stress. People are nervous right now, they're confused. Some are confused because they don't know what to expect in their new place where they will be, and that is why we have to give them psychological assistance. Sometimes it's just enough to say I'm there, and they calm down because they understand that they are not alone when they are preparing to leave.
Alexander comes from a small nearby town. He looks lost as he waits for his turn to register.
Почему решили сейчас эвакуироваться, а не раньше?
They're not shooting now, but we're afraid.
Как чувствуете себя, покидая свое место?
I feel sorry to leave my home. I feel sad to leave my homeland because this is my homeland. I come from Ukrainsk. My dad received an apartment here.
A special train leaves every day from Pokrovsk, and locals can hardly retain their tears upon leaving their lives behind. Most of them will likely end up in dormitories until they find something more stable or relatives willing to take them. It's unclear if they will ever be able to come back. The few shops that are still open often close in the afternoon, giving Pokrovsk the eerie feeling of a ghost town. Most people have already left to save their lives. According to local authorities, about 26,000 people remain out of the city's 86,000 pre-war population.
I don't know, maybe because of the Soviet Union time, people don't believe their lives are viable, you know?
Some don't have the means to leave, and some are afraid to start a new life somewhere.
Yeah, so we're doing everything what we can. I feel the guilty still, but, you know, I do what I can.
As of September 5, roughly 1,000 children were still in the city. Authorities have announced their mandatory evacuation, a decision deemed, quote, necessary and inevitable, according to Donetsk governor Vadim Filashkin. Upon leaving Pokrovsk, I can't help but think of Mariupol, Bakhmut, or Avdiivka. All these Donbas cities razed to the ground by the will of an army ready to destroy anything in its path to plant a Russian flag on yet another hellscape.